Wingstop lives flavor, and you crave it. That's why we've created the Boneless Flavor Fix for you and your crew. 20 boneless wings, 4 flavors, 2 fries, 2 dips, and 2 cold drinks for just $20. Whether it's lemon pepper, Louisiana rub, or atomic, finding your flavor combo is easy, but deciding who you're going to split it with, that's a different story. The Boneless Flavor Fix. Just $20 for a limited time at Wingstop. The wing experts. Prices and participation may vary. See local restaurant for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
You're gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday. No, it is not. It is Saturday, May the 12th. It's 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, and this is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason. That was, of course, a piece of shameless promotion by my ad man, Chris Dunham, and that was for my book, Pink Canary. If you love all things drag queen, if you love Key West, and if you love suspense and comedy all rolled into one sweet little book, go pick up The Pink Canary, because I guarantee you, you will not be sorry. And if you need an ad done, contact Chris. He is on my Facebook page, and he will make your books come to life too, or your music, or your artwork, or your business. And speaking of business, let's get down to some business. All of y'all know that I just love running the numbers on this show, because this show's a 5-year dream come true for me. So this morning, as I usually do, I pulled up the stats on the show, and the show alone, as of this morning, is at 7,146 listeners. And then when you add all the podcasts that this thing is up on, we are at 16,688 listeners in over 60 countries. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it does not get any better than that. The guests that I bring on this show are being heard all over the world in all kinds of different formats, on podcast, on iTunes, on FM.com, on Stitcher, on TuneIn Radio, you name it, and they're out there. And that is why this show is successful. It's not me. It's my guest. And that's why I love bringing them on here, because I love watching them succeed. They are an amazing group of people, and they are funny. They make me laugh. And they get to step outside of their comfort zone and learn how to fly, and that just thrills me to death, because there's nothing better than seeing how far you can go when you can't think that you can't. So on that note, I have a brand new author that I have not interviewed before, and she is absolutely amazing. And talking about stepping out of your comfort zone, she did. It's author Shayna Brazier. See, I can't even talk tonight. Shayna Brazier. And she is an author. She has many unique jobs, including picking up the trash at the county landfill, cleaning bathrooms, teaching high school music and art, writing parking tickets, mowing lawns, calling insurance companies to see why they didn't pay, gluing stones into charms, selling utilities to new movers, and paying bills. Given her wide array of skills, she has decided to pursue anxiety full-time. When she's not working, Shayna enjoys massages, facials, and napping in a hammock on the beach. And the other 364 days of the year, she endures chasing her kids around and trying to keep up with the house. And that intro just made me exhausted. Welcome, Shayna. How are you, my dear?
Thank you. I am good. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for saying, hey, Vaughn, you got an open night. Let me be on there. That made me go, yes, okay.
Well, and it's so funny that you started by saying stepping out of your comfort zone, because that was definitely a leap out of my comfort zone.
Well, did you think I'd say no?
No, I just thought I would have a couple more months to prepare myself.
Hey, ask and you shall receive, my dear.
Apparently.
I'm the maker of dreams I make dreams come true for people.
I love it. I'm going to be asking for bigger things then.
Okay. Before we get to the bigger things, now, we're not going to talk about your little book yet, because Johnny Carson taught me very, very well when I watched him when he was on, and that he liked to bring his guest out and they have an intimate conversation, and then he would say, okay, now what are you going to be doing? And by then the audience is sitting on the edge of their seat wondering if the guest is going to get out of there before talking about their biggest movie or their next music or their next book or whatever. So, ladies and gentlemen, y'all are just going to have to wait a while before we tell you what her book is about.
And I love that. I love that, because I think that, anyone can go out and read the book, but how many people are going to be able to sit down and get to know me as a person versus just me as an author?
Well, and you are your brand. Your book is not your brand. You are the brand.
Right. And
when we put the brand out there, we're putting Shayna out there because she's a pretty special lady. With all you do, I mean, hey, child, please. You made me tired just reading it.
Well,
so,
it's been a good life.
It and still is, apparently. So tell me about Shayna. Tell me how you got from point A to right now.
Oh, geez, it's such a loaded question, because there's so many facets of my life that I could point to a different path for every facet of my life. But specifically about writing, I've just always enjoyed writing. For a long time there, back when I feel like blogs used to be really popular, and they've kind of faded off the map, but back when they were really popular, I had, my own little mommy blog, and it wasn't to make money or anything like that. It was just to tell my story and to make people laugh. Honestly, my whole life has been about making people laugh. I get the most joy when I can make someone else laugh. So I used to write a blog just about all the funny things that my little kids would do, or the funny things that would happen, and especially things that could become tragic or could mess up your whole day. But if you look at it from a different light, then it can make your whole day. It can be funny in the moment, not just 10 years from now. But you can enjoy the unenjoyable moments in life if you can somehow take yourself out and think, this is going to be really funny in 10 years, so I'm going to start laughing about it right now.
And that's true, because I like to tell my children and my grandchildren, when they come to me all in a snit because their world is falling apart over something silly, I look at them and I say, are you seriously getting upset about this? Because in 100 years it isn't going to matter. Hell, in 5 years it isn't going to matter. What is your problem?
And probably next week it's not going to matter. But it's so true. We as humans just, things mean a lot in the moment to us, I guess.
Well, a lot of us live in the moment. We don't live looking ahead at what is really important and what isn't. So the kid falls down and scrapes his knee. Next week he'll be swinging from the monkey bars. Get up and dust yourself off and get back out there and play some more.
Oh, I totally agree.
So tell me about writing parking tickets.
Okay. I know. Everyone asked me that too. What? You were a police officer? So when I was going to college, I wanted the job that was going to pay the most, because college is expensive. And so when I was looking at all the campus jobs available, there was a student traffic officer. and it paid the most out of any of the other jobs. And I found out why, and it's because everybody hates you. They hate you more than they hate the dentist, because you have one job, and that's to walk around and write parking tickets for people that don't have the right validation for the parking lot that they're parked in. So I learned real quickly to let people's comments roll off the back of my shoulders, because I inevitably, several times a day, someone was going to give me a piece of their mind about my job. And so that's literally what I did for, it was probably 4 hours a day, 5 days a week there. I would walk around and write parking tickets for people. And the funny thing is, even today when I get a parking ticket, it still makes me mad. I'm still upset that I got a parking ticket, even though I was the one doing that to people. But it was a good job, and it was a really good paying job, which was important for me at that time.
Well, and the thing is, it toughened you up for when you got out into the big bad world, because most students, even today, they're so sensitive to anything that is said to them that they go run hide in a corner of their safe space. But when you get out in the real world and get in corporate America, people don't care if your feelings get hurt.
Oh, I totally agree. And it made me learn to take everything with a grain of salt, that everyone's allowed to have their opinion, and if their opinion is that you're a horrible person for giving them a ticket, then so be it. But I think more than anything, it prepared me to be a mom, because there are several times where my kids are not happy about the job I'm doing or how I'm disciplining them, and it doesn't affect me.
Do you get that, Mom, I hate you?
Oh, I vividly remember the first time my daughter told me that, and that one hurt. I think the first one always hurts, because you just think, not my kid. My kid's not going to say that. But by the time her 3 brothers came around, it just doesn't even affect me anymore. I just think, yeah, right. In 20 minutes, you're going to love me again, so it's okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Well, what mine used to do, especially my girls, it wasn't my son so much, but my girls, Mom, I hate you. I'd say, that's okay. I love you enough for both of us.
Oh, that's a good comeback.
and what are you going to say? And then when they come and say, Mom, I'll say, what do you want? 5 minutes ago, you hated me. What do you want? And it's always something they want to do, and now they got to come with hat in hand, and that's the best revenge.
Ask for it.
It's so worth it.
You know what? Yeah, it's such a good lesson for adults, though, too, because, just like you said, my kids, will be upset, and they'll say, I hate you, or they'll run off, and then 30 minutes later, they'll come in and they'll give me a big hug, and life moves on, and they're so good at apologizing and moving on, and I just think that's a really good lesson.
And adults don't know how to do that. They're always looking, well, what can I do to get back at somebody? To me, that's a waste of time. Talking about anxiety, that takes up too much of my energy, and I don't have that much energy.
Exactly.
And I'll only pick those battles I'll know I can win. And if if they're not important enough to win, forget it. I'm not wasting my time.
Exactly.
So tell me about picking up trash at the county landfill.
Okay, so this is a funny one. I do feel like I've had so many random jobs, but this was just right after I got married. I moved down to the city that my husband was going to school in, because I was done, and so we moved down to that city, and I had gotten a really nice job, actually, but it didn't start for 3 weeks, and my husband was in school full-time, and I didn't have friends down there yet, and there was nothing for me to do, so I went into a temp agency and just said, do you have anything I can do for a couple weeks, because I have a full-time job already, but it doesn't start for a couple weeks. And so they said, well, we have something, but I don't know if you're going to be interested in it. And I said, well, just tell me what it is. And they said, well, the county landfill needs someone to to go pick up trash that has blown outside the borders to put it back into the borders. And I kind of was like, ooh, I don't know about that. But then they told me that it paid $15 an hour, which back then, to just walk in somewhere and get a temp job, it was usually like between $8 and $10 an hour.
Right.
So I thought, you know what, I can suck it up for a couple weeks for $15 an hour. I'm not doing anything else, and I don't have anyone to hang out with down here. So I went on my first day, and they had hired 5 different people. 3 of them were teenage boys, and then there was me and another adult lady on the job. And they gave us those poker sticks where you can poke the trash and then stick it in the bag. And they basically drove us to the outer rim of the landfill, dropped us off, and said, start walking the border, and we'll come pick you up at the end of the day. And the boss told us it's $15 an hour, but if you stay an entire week, I'll give you $20 an hour, which should have been my first clue that it was a horrible job if they're offering that much money for anyone who stays. But I thought, well, geez, $20 an hour, I can definitely do this for $20 an hour. So it was about an hour and a half into it, and we're all just going along, and we had our little radios on us and stuff, so we were listening to music. It actually wasn't that bad, other than that it did not smell pleasant. But we're walking along, and one of the teenage kids threw his hands in the air and just said, I can't do it anymore. And we were like, seriously? And so he called on the radio to the boss and said, I think I'm sick. I need you to come pick me up. I need to go home. And so the boss got in his truck and came over to where we were. And the kid, just as the boss was coming up, stuck his finger down his throat and made himself throw up so that the boss would think he was sick so that he could get out of the job, which looking back now, I'm like, it's so hilarious. It was just hilarious. But so he went home, and then there was 4 of us. This was all within the first, 3 hours of this job. And so we finished the day off. He brought us back to the main office. And told everyone to be back there in the morning at 5:30 in the morning again to start again. And the very next day, guess how many people showed up?
You.
Me and the other adult woman. We were the only ones who came back to the job, which was just hilarious. But we actually had a great time together, and we actually got to know each other really well because we spent 8 hours a day for 2 weeks together picking up trash. And the boss was good on his word. He gave us $20 an hour for that week and the next week. And the good thing was my husband at the time he thought it was the coolest. Instead of thinking, oh gross, my wife works at the dump is what we would call it, the county landfill. He just thought it was the coolest thing that his wife was willing to do anything. That there was no job that was beneath me. And I didn't know it then, but it has been such a good resource, like I said again, for my kids to be able to say, you know what? I worked at the landfill. So, you doing the dishes or you picking up the dog poop is not beneath you. You can do hard, smelly jobs.
And that is a very good point to make, that it was an honest living. You weren't breaking the law. You gave the man 8 hours worth of work for 8 hours worth of pay, and you were rewarded for doing a good job. And sadly, we have gotten away as a nation. We've gotten away from that willingness to do whatever it takes to make a living, whether it's working in a landfill or being a sanitation worker or scrubbing toilets. I've done that too myself.
I have done that too, actually.
and it was not beneath me. It fed my kids, and it kept my children from starving.
Right.
So this is what I tell my children. I don't care what you do as long as it's legal and doesn't hurt anybody. If it's scrubbing toilets, be thankful you've got that job.
And it's right. I totally agree. And it's such a good lesson because I know I learned that lesson from my own parents. They were some of the hardest working people that I know. And I remember as a kid my dad would go up in the mountains and they would cut wood and sell wood to people for their fireplaces and stuff. And another random job that they would do, they would shovel manure, and they would take it around to big farms so they could fertilize their farms. And they sold manure. And they're very successful people now, and they have white-collar jobs now, and they don't have to do that anymore, but it was never beneath them. It was never a matter of I won't do this because I'm better than that. And I value that lesson so much that I'm glad that I've done enough quote unquote crappy jobs that I can pass that lesson on to my own kids.
Well, and when you think about it, Shayna, it teaches us, or it should teach us, to appreciate what it takes to become successful and rise up in the business world, if that's what we choose to do. We appreciate where we've been. Yes.
And the value of hard work, and you know what hard work is.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. Now, I don't want to work in the landfill for the rest of my life. Let's make that straight.
No, but it
was not a cushy job.
But if that is someone's ambition, it's still a worthy ambition to have. It's not, oh, you work at the landfill, so you must be stupid. No, it takes a lot of grit, determination, and intelligence to get up every day.
I totally agree. Yeah.
So,
I 100% agree with that.
So what we're saying, ladies and gentlemen, is if it's a legal job, it doesn't matter if it's sweeping the streets. It's a worthy job because a man is worthy of his hire. And Shayna stuck out those 2 weeks, and the boss man kept his word as well. He's probably shocked it was just you and the other woman that showed back up.
Oh, he was so shocked. But, he was a good person, too, because at the end of that 2 weeks, he actually offered me and that other lady full-time positions if we wanted them, which I just think was smart to use a temp agency, really filter through people who are going to work hard and people who aren't, and then offer them a big reward at the end. Now, I already had a full-time position, and I honestly don't remember what that other lady did, but I didn't think of it as below me. I actually was honored that he would offer me that. I thought, wow, that's really cool. Like, if I did not have a full-time position, that would have been really nice to know, oh, I don't have to temp anymore. I could actually have a steady job. And he appreciated what you did, and you did it with the gladness in your heart, and just instead of saying, oh, this crappy-ass job, I'll be glad when it's over with, you did it with a glad heart. Right.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Shayna. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Shayna will tell us that she carries around anxiety like a coat. And I did
like
that for
many
Like a best
friend.
Yes. She won't let go of that best friend. And I did that for many, many years. But I decided that I wasn't going to allow my mind to tell my emotions what to do. I was going to take control of my mind and tell my mind what my emotions were going to do. When did this first manifest itself to you, Shayna, and why?
Well, to be honest, and I joke about this in the book, but I really think it probably started in the womb, because I do not have a memory of my life that did not involve anxiety. So I honestly think it's just part of my nature, part of my being, but it was never labeled as that. Like, growing up, I don't remember anyone ever saying you have anxiety or you have high anxiety, because I like to say that I have high-functioning anxiety, meaning I still do things. I still get out. I'm still on your podcast, even though I'm having heart palpitations right now. I'm still doing it.
But we're having so much fun.
Oh, and that's how it is always. When I go running in the mountains with my husband, I'm having so much fun, but I'm also taking anxiety with me. but it's just always been a companion in my life, I guess. But it definitely was manifest when I was a kid. But I was considered a worrier or a worrywart. I don't know if they said that where you grew up, but you're worrywart.
Oh, yeah.
It's just someone who worries a lot. And that was just part of my nature. And so, anytime we went on a road trip, I would, worry about the cars on the road and the weather conditions and things like that. Or anytime we'd go to a big crowded area, I'd worry about the other people and are there bad people out here, or is somebody going to get hurt? If somebody did get hurt, what would I do about it? And it was always a part of my nature. And when my husband, he went to school and to become a psychologist. And as he's going through school, and I did a lot of editing on his papers because I'm good at editing. And so he would give me his papers and I'd edit them. And inadvertently, I would learn a lot about psychology by editing his papers. And it was while he was going to school that I was like, you know what, honey, I think I have anxiety. And it made him laugh because he said, well, I know you have anxiety. It almost like caught him off guard, like, how did you not know this whole time that you had anxiety? And I was like, I've just learned to live with it. I've learned to do things in spite of the anxiety. And so it was when he was going to grad school that I actually went to my first therapy appointment for my anxiety. And it was because we were going to take a trip. My parents offered to take all of us siblings and our kids on a trip to Hawaii.
Whoa.
Which was amazing, so fun, except for the fact that it meant we had to fly. And I have a huge phobia of flying. If I had to pick one situation that just pushes my anxiety over the top, it would be flying. And so it was then that I thought, I've got to go visit someone and try to figure out how to control this anxiety. And for the longest time, it was trying to control it, trying to put a rein on it and control it. And that doesn't work very well. At least it didn't work very well for me. It almost felt like the harder you pull on it, the harder it's going to pull against you. Mm-hmm. And so just over the next few years, trying different tricks and reading different books about it and just really trying to figure out how to live my life with this anxiety is when I just came to find out that, like, if I could just treat it, that's why I call it my best friend. If I can treat it like a person and say, I recognize that you're going to come with me to this event, or you're going to come with me flying, or you're going to come with me on this podcast or whatever, but I'm going to be the one making the decisions, then I find that I can get through almost anything. Recognizing it's going to be there. It's a constant companion, and maybe someday it will go away. And if it doesn't, I've learned to live a really full and happy life even with it. And so but the key is that I don't let my anxiety make the decisions for me. It's like you said when I contacted you and said, I'll fill in your spot, that was me, Shayna, making the decision that I want to be on that podcast. If I was letting anxiety make the decision, I would not have sent you that email. In fact, I probably wouldn't have sent you the original email.
And it was, ladies and gentlemen, it was really funny because I had set her up for a couple of months down the road because I was booked for this month, and one of my guests had to back out. And so when I put the shows up for this week, I had an open day. And Shayna says, hey, I'll come be on and fill that slot. And I said, okay, fine. And I don't think she was expecting that because I didn't give her time to think about it.
I do not think I was expecting that. I honestly thought you would say, well, I've actually got 5 other people ahead of you. But I thought, hey, why not try? Why not try?
Well, you don't ever know the answer to the question unless you ask the question.
Right.
And it was perfect. And y'all should have seen me changing her guest spot over to tonight and fixing it all up nice and pretty and taking care of business. And tonight is Friday night, isn't it? I said it was Saturday night. See, I told you.
And I heard you say that in the intro. You know what's funny about that? I heard you say that in the intro, and then I thought to myself, holy crap, is it Saturday? I thought it was Friday. And then what happened to the whole last 24 hours?
I've been up since 3 o'clock, so I'm kind of brain stupid anyway. This time of night. And it's live radio, so we just have fun with it. So, no, ladies and gentlemen, you're not in the Twilight Zone. It is Friday night.
It is Friday night. I see, and that's what I want to know. I want to know how many people listening to this thought the same thing. Is it Saturday? What am I doing?
Well, see, and I have that effect on people because now I've got them questioning their sanity. I love it.
Okay, so speaking of that, I've gotten responses from my book of people saying, I think I have anxiety now, or you're giving me anxiety. Your book gave me anxiety. And I always just say, well, I like to spread the love.
Absolutely. I mean, why not? And for a lot of people, Shayna, anxiety can get to the level that it becomes debilitating. That would be a very fair statement, would it not?
Oh, totally fair. And I think, I like to make light of it because, like we talked earlier, it's the only way to get through life. But there's definitely been moments, even in my life, where it was completely debilitating. And there's even been moments where I've had to go to the hospital over it. And those are not funny, and they're not fun.
No. Now, what made you write the book?
That is such a good question. And it was probably a year ago. And I was looking back at my life because, like I said, there was a point in my life where it was really, really hard. And it wasn't making me laugh. I wasn't laughing about it. And I was looking back at how far I've come from there, and I thought, wow, I really do a lot of things that I wouldn't have done 5 years ago or 6 years ago because it just would have caused me too much anxiety. I just wouldn't have been able to do them. And I can do them now. And I was just thinking, what are those things? What made the difference for me? What changed it from, like you said, debilitating to something that a lot of people don't even know I have because I don't let it stop me. And it was when I was thinking about all these things and the different things I've done over the last, 5 or 6 or 7 years that I thought I should write a book. I should write a book, but it was never to publish. I just thought I should write all these feelings down so that maybe one day my kids will read it, or if their kids have anxiety, they can read it and get inspiration, or even just feel like they're not alone in it. And so I started writing down ideas, and they just came to me. I think I wrote that whole book in less than a month. It just came to me, and I knew what to write, and I knew what wording to put it in. And it was probably when I was about halfway or 3/4 of the way through it, I gave it to a couple of my family members and a couple friends and just said, what do you think about this? And they all just had such positive remarks about it and just said, wow, this is really great, or wow, I didn't know you could write like this. And a couple of people said, wow, I didn't know you had anxiety. and I just thought, it's like you said, you'll never know if you don't try. And so I thought, I'm going to try. I'm going to look into the process of getting this published and what it all entails and what I have to do to be able to do that, and if it's possible and plausible for my stage of life right now. And when I looked at everything, it looked possible, and it was plausible, and it was something that I felt like I could do. And because of the positive comments and because of the way I felt about it, I felt like I should do it.
Once you got all of that on paper, and as you were writing it, after it was done, I know probably while you were writing it, you probably had more than heart palpitations. You were probably ready to bang your head against the wall. But, honey, that's normal. But that's normal with us writers. That's not anxiety. That's called...
Oh, great.
That's called being a writer.
Okay.
Trust me. So that wasn't anxiety at all. Mm-mm. That was just... No. That comes
with the job?
Yes, ma'am. It's just part of it. But when you were finished with it and you had this finished product in your hand, did you find that it had helped you? It was like cathartic for you to do that?
Or almost therapeutic, yes. I totally felt that way. And it's not a therapeutic book per se, and I make that very clear in the beginning. I am not any sort of licensed mental health anything. And so it's not meant to be therapy in that way, but it was very therapeutic for me to get my feelings out and to see how far I've come and to be able to turn something that used to be so negative in my life into something positive. The positive things coming out of this book outweigh all the negative emotions and consequences I had from having anxiety. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense because you were able to look at it in a different light. It's one thing to know it emotionally and mentally, but it's another thing to see it in printed form. Oh, I did that? Really?
Right.
I'm not so bad.
And it's still to this day, right? When my husband will introduce me or someone asks what I do and he'll say, well, she's an author, it still takes me back a little like, really? Am I an author? Did I do that?
Yes, you did.
Like,
and it's also a feeling of accomplishment for you as an individual that
right.
you were able to write something that not only helped you, but before the show we were talking about some of the comments. Not other people back then.
Sorry, you cut out just a little bit.
What is the feedback from your readers been on this book?
Right, the feedback. Yeah, I've gotten so much positive feedback. So many people who have just emailed me or texted me or Facebook messaged me and just said, yes, that's exactly what it feels like, or yes, that's exactly the feeling I had, or this book just was a, breath of fresh air for me, or it helped them understand one of their family members better. Like I had a friend reach out and just say, wow, that's just really helped me understand what my daughter's going through. And it made me think about the things that I'm saying to her in a different way, now that I have a better understanding of maybe some of the emotions and the thoughts that are behind, the outward things that she's saying or doing. But there's also been some really fun discoveries. I've had lots of different cousins and friends reach out and say, yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but I have anxiety too. And 80% of the time, I did not know that. And I'm just like, really? You had anxiety too? And it's been really fun to have that bond with people that I never would have discovered otherwise, because there's not really a forum for everyone to sit down and talk about what mental health illnesses they have.
Well, and for so many years, Shayna, it's been a dirty little secret. If you had anxiety or you had things that bothered you and you couldn't get them out, people said, well, don't talk about it like company. We don't talk about those things. Like, really, why not?
Right. And Yvonne, I apologize, but you are breaking up a lot. I don't know if it's my end or your end.
Sometimes you're saying out on these two. Is that better? Are we doing good?
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Hold on a minute. Just hold on a minute. We're going to fix this.
Okay. Okay.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen.
You're good. And do you want me to call you from a different phone? See if it's my end?
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, is that better?
Oh, that is so much better.
Okay. Sometimes, I don't know why, my microphone in my headset, I think Chrome has a hiccup and doesn't like to play well with others, and it goes out, and then we have all these issues. So, but that's why I have the telephone.
Even Chrome doesn't want to talk about mental health.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we were talking about is finding out that family members or friends share a commonality in that they had anxiety too, and they didn't know that Shayna had it. Shayna didn't know they had it. So it was like comparing notes or a recipe or something, and you didn't feel quite as alone, did you?
Right, and it was almost bonding. Like it's just one more step to connect us as humans. When you feel like someone understands how you feel, it bonds you to that person. And then another fun side effect, I guess I would call it, is learning about my ancestors, which is, this is not the way I thought I would find these things out about them, but the other week my mom was telling me about her grandmother who used to write a lot and wrote songs and wrote plays and just was a really talented writer, and she was known in the community as being a really talented writer, and I had no idea. And it was kind of fun to be connected even to my ancestors in this way of feeling like I have a connection to her, even though I've never met her, just through that one thing that we both enjoy writing and we're both good at it. And so there was that fun side effect, I don't know what to call it, but to writing the book as well.
It's making that connection to an ancestor. There's that commonality, so you know that your ability to produce the written word is not a fluke.
Right.
It's something that you share genetically.
Right.
Do any of your children, do you notice an anxiety trait in them?
Every once in a while, and I think situationally for sure. If there's a situation, especially performance-based situations, my daughter plays the violin, and when she was first starting to do her concerts and things, she would definitely get a lot of anxiety for that. But this is where it comes in really handy to marry a psychologist, because they can do a lot of background work to offset any anxiety that might come up. And so he's just really good at working with the kids in a situation where they might start to get a little bit anxious. He just knows all the tools and tricks and things to say, and it's just been really fun to watch that, of validating feelings and emotions, but not letting them control our kids' lives.
And I'm sure that it's helped you to be able to watch him help the children.
Oh, yeah. And it's so funny, though. So bringing it full circle back to that trip to Hawaii, I, was totally anxious on the flight. I did okay, and I was able to hold my emotions in versus, just screaming on the plane, which is good for everybody on the plane. But I had teardrops rolling down my eyes a good portion of the flight because it just scares the crap out of me. And my daughter, she would grab my hand and she would say, "It's okay, Mom. We're going to be okay." So I know for sure that she's not afraid of flying, but it was kind of fun to have her be in that role for a minute where I'm supposed to be comforting her, but she's the one comforting me.
Now, in your growing up years, in your teenage years,
yeah,
have you found that as you've gotten older, it's gotten a little better, or has it stayed the same?
No, I actually, the opposite. I would say it got worse and then got better. I think as teenagers, our brains aren't totally fully developed yet. Maybe it's a good way to put that. But I definitely was still a worrier, but maybe less aware of the things around me. And it got worse when I got married, and I think it's because I had that bond that now meant so much to me that it heightened what my brain was perceiving as dangerous, because I didn't want anything dangerous to happen to that unit, to my marriage unit. And then when I started having kids, it got way worse. I just 3, 4, 5 times worse with each kid that I had. And I think it's that same concept that the stewardship I felt over these children and to keep them safe and to nurture them and make sure that they're okay compounded the anxiety that I had, knowing that I had other people to care about, not just myself. And it's not the same with other family. You know, when you're a teenager,
Right.
you don't feel responsible for your parents usually. And so it's just you. You're the only one you really have to worry about. And then when you get married, you have someone else that you're worried about. And then when you have kids, you know, you're really worried about them. And so it definitely, there was a period there when all my kids were real little that was the worst of my anxiety. I would say that period right there, until I started figuring out how I was going to live with this anxiety, and not just live with it, but enjoy my life. Because you can live with a lot of stuff and not enjoy life. But
that's true.
I didn't want to waste my life being a slave to anxiety. So
instead you made it your best friend.
It's my best friend because it never leaves me.
and
I've always got someone to talk to if I need to.
Be careful now; they'll be coming to grab you up in those little white coats and carting you off to the funny
right
part.
for talking to myself.
But and when you were talking about when the children are small and getting married, as women, because we are wired different, it is already our nature to worry about the family unit because
right.
That's what we do. And then when we are pregnant with our children, of course, our hormones go into hyper overdrive. It's like hormones are on steroids.
Right.
And then it takes a while for that to calm down, and then by the time it gets calmed down, usually we're pregnant again, so here we go off on this little trip again. And with you with the anxiety already at peak level, I can imagine. It's like walking on a tightrope.
Well, it's exactly what happened. And I do think the worst of it was, not blaming my children, but I had a 9-month-old daughter when I found out I was pregnant with my son, and we were not looking to get pregnant. We were actively not getting pregnant. So he's our little gift from God, if you will. Uh-huh. But I definitely agree with you. I don't think my hormones had a chance to level out before I got pregnant again, and I do think that compounded my anxiety at the time.
So ladies and gentlemen, because men have anxiety as well, don't delusion yourself in thinking that you don't. There are men out there that have the anxiety. A lot of it is genetic. Some of it is hormonal, and some of it is just the way we're wired. And it takes time and patience, and like Shayna does, embrace it, make it your friend, and understand that sometimes when we are anxious over things, it's nothing we can control anyway, so let's try not to waste our time being anxious over it, and the things we can change them, and don't worry about it. It took me a long time to learn that, Shayna.
Yeah, I'm still learning. I am still on that learning course.
And like I said, I've got so old now that I don't have half the energy I had when I was 20 or even 40. So I'm not gonna waste my time worrying about something I can't do anything about.
Right. That's
now, tell the folks the title of your book, because I know they're waiting to hop over to Amazon. And no, y'all can't go yet. You have to wait until after the show because you'll miss something.
Right. Pins and needles. Well, and the title of the book's another where it was just one of those aha moments. I had gone through so many different titles, and I had, run them through different friends and family and got their opinions on them and what they thought. And none of them really felt like they captured the book for me. And then I don't even remember where I was, but I just had this aha moment of this is what I want my title to be. And it was Anxiety Makes Me Anxious.
I love it.
And I just thought that is exactly what the book is about, is that, and I have since learned that many people who have anxiety are most anxious about their anxiety making them do something or say something in public that's going to embarrass them. And I just thought it was just such a fitting title for the book.
And it becomes a vicious circle, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
Totally. You get anxious about something, and that causes the anxiety, and then you get anxious about the anxiety, and then the anxiety takes on the life of being anxious. And do you sometimes feel like a rat running in a wheel?
Oh, yes, that's actually a really good way to put it, yes. And
you can't stop, no matter, because you find yourself spinning in circles.
It's a vicious circle. It totally is. It totally is. And honestly, it's the reason why a lot of people with anxiety don't go out and don't do things, because it feels out of their control. If speaking of the rat in the wheel, you feel it's out of your control. There's nowhere for you to go. You are stuck in this. And it can feel like that.
So what advice? I know you're not a psychologist, but you live this daily. So what advice would you give someone who, and ladies and gentlemen, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm going to tell you, it makes us all unique. It makes us who we are. So what advice would you give someone as a layman and as someone who travels that path, what to do about it? How to make it better.
So if I had to give one piece of advice, and in the book I talk about several different things that I do that may or may not work for people, but if I had to give one piece of advice, it would be what I talked about earlier. If you have to talk to yourself in the mirror, literally talk to yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I am making the decisions, not my anxiety. So when I want to do something, I ask myself that question. Like if I want to go, I can't even think, on a hike with my husband or with my family or whatever, I ask myself, if I did not have anxiety, would I want to do this? And if the answer is yes, then I go. If the answer is no, then I don't, because I'm allowing myself to make that decision. And then I turn to the anxiety, which, like you said, I might get hauled off after this podcast. I'm going to be like, she is crazy.
No, it's good.
I turn to my anxiety and say, I am going to do this. If you want to come, that's fine, but I'm doing it. And then it's one foot in front of the other. You make yourself do it. And it becomes easier as you do it. The first time, it's scary, and it's so easy for me to say and so hard to do. The first time, there's this party you really want to go to, but you have just such high social anxiety that you just don't know if you can. You go one foot in front of the other until you get there. And one fun thing about me being out with my anxiety, everyone knows it now. Everyone knows I have anxiety now. If they didn't know it before, they know it now. Is that people, it doesn't shock people. So the other day I went on a trail run with my husband and our friend Spencer, and we went up to this place. I grew up going up there as a little kid, actually. It's a YMCA camp, and then there's trails from there that go up into the mountains. And it's beautiful, and we went up there, and the whole night before I was having dreams about bears. I did not want to see a bear. It's springtime. The bears are out. They're scary. And so I did not sleep well the night before. The whole drive up, I was telling myself, this is what I want to do, and I am going to do it. And if you want to come, anxiety, you're welcome, but I'm going to do this. And we get up there, and 20 seconds into our run, it might have even been less than 20 seconds, we ran smack into a bear. And that bear got up and ran away from us, which was good. It wasn't going to attack us. But that just threw my anxiety from a 5 to a 95 in 3 seconds flat. And I turned to my husband and our friend and just said, anxiety won, I'll see you in the car. And I went down to the car and I waited. And normally in that situation, I would have been so embarrassed. I would have probably cried in the car the whole time. I would have thought, Spencer's going to think I'm such a loser, that I can't do this. But ironically, we had been talking the whole drive up to the trailhead about my book and about my anxiety and about how I deal with it and just how it affects my life and stuff. And so since I was already out there, everything's already out there, I have nothing left to be embarrassed about. And so when, they came back from their trail run about an hour later, and I took my nice little nap in the bear-proof truck, and nothing was said, and there was no. It took so much of the embarrassment out of the whole thing, and so it takes so much courage. But if you have the courage, just tell people around you that you have anxiety. Just say, I've got anxiety. This is what happens when I have it. It could be I cry or I shake a little or whatever. If people know what to expect, generally people are good and people want to help you. And if they know what to expect with you, then they know how to react to it. If people don't know that you have anxiety and then all of a sudden you start shaking, well, they're all going to come up to you and say, what's going on? Are you okay? And they're going to look worried, and then that's going to make you worried, and then like you said, it's that vicious cycle. But if you have people, loved ones around you who know what you're going through, know what it looks like, and want to help you still live a happy life, you can do anything.
So guess what? Our hour's almost up.
Oh, my goodness. That flew.
I told you, honey. You've done so well. I'm so proud. And with that being said, real quick, are you writing another book?
I am, actually.
When
which
do you
is
want to
funny.
come back?
Oh, right. Well, when it's done.
When's it going to be done?
Well, I don't know. This one's taking me a little bit longer because we just started some business ventures, and so it's been taking me a little bit longer. But I do have the title, and I'll give you a little hint. It's the title of this next one is called "Hormones Make Me Hormonal."
Sweet.
And
I've
got some good stories about that.
So as soon as you get ready to launch it, I want to launch it on this show.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That would be really fun.
And see, you survived. You didn't pass out on me. All is good. We've had fun.
Not.
The hour's almost up. And thank you so much.
And I will let you know, I did not even take a Xanax for this.
I am impressed.
Which I considered it. I sincerely considered it.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this young lady really stepped out of her comfort zone, and we've helped her, and she's helped us. That's what we do on this show. That's why we call it Off the Chain. Now, tomorrow night I'm off, and then we come back on Wednesday night, which is my birthday, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So I expect us to have a huge listening audience to celebrate my 66th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. So you have to tune in. And we're going to bring Shayna back when she gets her book ready to launch. I want to launch it on this show.
That would be awesome.
It would be. I love bringing my guests back because my guests are important to me. And all of you know that when I get ready to close the show, I always have these little tidbits of information for you to carry with you because I feel like it's important. And I was watching a movie this afternoon, and someone said this. They said, don't just feel special, be special. Now, that's what you can tell anxiety, Shanna. Don't just feel special, be special.
I love it.
And feel free to plagiarize it because I did too. And also, ladies and gentlemen, remember what I talk about when I talk about being successful. If you want to achieve greatness, don't ask permission. Stop asking permission. You don't have to ask permission. And your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after having an experience with you, ladies and gentlemen, that is your trademark. So remember that when you're out and about and when you are talking to strangers, because how you leave those folks feeling is indeed your trademark. And you always want to leave a good trademark. It's like I say, we are our brand, not our product. We are the brand. And it doesn't matter if you're not an author or anything else. You still are your brand. So join us on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time when our guest for the week will start up again, and we will have shows on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night again. And Shayna, honey, don't hang up because I want to tell you some things when we go into when the show ends, people can still hear us in archives, but I just got some things I need to tell you so you can be prepared for it. So, ladies and gentlemen,
that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Until next Wednesday night, this is Yvonne Mason with Off the Chain, and we are saying good night and be great. Okay, what's going to happen is when I get off from the show with you, the show will move up into archives. And once it archives, I will put the link up on my Facebook page, and I'm going to tag you in it. And you can take that and spread it everywhere you want to spread it. And then tomorrow, I will put it up on Podcast Garden, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Spreaker, which are my other podcasts I run, and I will put the link up and tag you in it for you to put it out there for everybody to listen to. That's my gift to y'all. You can download it, you can save it, you can do whatever you want to with it.
That's perfect. Thank you.
You are welcome, and thank you, and I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for allowing me to be on. That was actually a lot more fun and a lot less anxiety than I thought it would be.
See? Mama knows these things.
Mama knows that.
Mama knows. and the hour flew by. See, you didn't even have time to think about being anxious.
Right.
So I'm going to get off from here so that you can go and spend time with your family and keep me in the loop about your book, because I want to get you back on the show. And next time we'll even have more fun.
Oh, that would be really fun. Like I said, we've got a couple business ventures that are launching this week. That the book is definitely on the bottom of the to-do list. But every week I work on it a little bit, so it's good.
Yeah, and that's what we do as authors do. So just keep me informed and tell me about the time you're going to get ready to put it out there, and we'll get you back on the show. Hopefully it'll be before the end of the year, and which would be perfect, because that would be a perfect Christmas gift for somebody.
Oh, yeah, it would. Perfect.
There you go. All right, my darling, I have had a blast.
Yeah, me too. It was good to get to know you a little bit. It was fun.
Thank you, and stay away from the bears, honey.
Oh, I will.
And I will talk to you later, darling.
All right.
Good
Bye.
night, honey.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Hardship. My grandmother would go through it every month to pay her insurance bill. First, she would handwrite a paper check, in cursive. Then, using her own tongue, she would wet a stamp for an envelope. Today, however, we need not weary our hands and tongues. Today, we can pay our Geico bill with the Geico app. Away with hardship, in with bill pay on the Geico app. Thank you.
Wingstop lives flavor, and you crave it. That's why we've created the boneless flavor fix for you and your crew. 20 boneless wings, 4 flavors, 2 fries, 2 dips, and 2 cold drinks for just $20. Whether it's lemon pepper, Louisiana rub, or atomic, finding your flavor combo is easy, but deciding who you're gonna split it with, that's a different story. The boneless flavor fix, just $20 for a limited time at Wingstop. The wing experts. Prices and participation may vary. See local restaurant for details.